Hi, I'm Dr. Bradley Nelson. Welcome to this master class on the emotion code, how to release your trapped emotions for abundant health, love, and happiness. The emotion code is changing the world one person at a time. So I want to thank you for being here and watching this special video. So I'm Dr. Bradley Nelson. I spent 17 years in a brick and mortar practice, several years in a virtual practice. I have taught seminars literally all over the world. I've been on most major radio shows and major networks. I've done nearly 1,000 radio shows by now and a number of TV shows as well over the last 10 years. So it's been a fascinating journey for me, and I want to share with you a little bit about where this information came from and what it's really all about and how it can help you. So first of all, let's take a look at emotions. Think about the last week of your life and the emotions that you might have experienced. You know, we all experience positive emotions at times. We all experience negative emotions at times. Sometimes those emotions can be overwhelming. Sometimes they can be incredibly powerful. Sometimes those emotions are good. Sometimes we have happy experiences. Sometimes things are going well. Sometimes life is joyful. But then sometimes we go through things that are difficult. For example, let's take a look at this picture. Here's the young boy, looks like he has wet pants. Can you think back to a time in your life when maybe you experienced something like this? You know, when we're children, we experience emotions that are just as intense, sometimes I think maybe even more intense than when we're adults. That emotional energy can affect us years later. Sometimes we go through experiences as children where parents are arguing or fighting or going through a divorce. Those emotions that we experience can stay with us and affect our lives as time goes on. This is really the elephant in the living room in Western medicine. How our emotional baggage can affect us in the here and now and how it can diminish our lives. Some of us have been through abuse. And sometimes that abuse was at the hands of our own loved ones. Sometimes some of us might have been bullied. Sometimes we've been through difficult situations that we would rather not have gone through, and we've experienced intense emotions that we would rather not have experienced. Sometimes we experience great loss. Sometimes a loved one dies. Sometimes a relationship breaks up. Sometimes we think we want to die, or sometimes we think we're going to die because the emotional energy is so powerful that we can't deal with it. Sometimes we have a difficult situation at work. We have a toxic boss who creates all kinds of emotional difficulty for us. So to really understand the emotion code and what it is, we have to ask ourselves, what are emotions really? Well, we know that the body itself is an energy field. In fact, we know that everything in the universe is really ultimately energy, thanks to the work of people like Albert Einstein. If you could take your hand and focus on that hand with a big microscope, if you were to zoom in about 100 million power magnification, you might be looking face to face with a single individual atom. And if you were to look inside that atom, you'd see that there's really nothing in there but empty space and some little infinitesimally tiny energies that are zipping around at the speed of light. And that is still your hand. That is what we are. We are beings of pure energy. And we know that thought is an energy. Think about this. Have you ever sat in the back of a boring meeting and you're staring, fixated on the back of someone's head a number of rows up? If you continue to stare at the back of their head, what will happen? Most people have had this experience. After a minute or so, that person will turn around and look right into your eyes. how do they know that you're looking at them? Good question. So thought is energy. We like to think that the thoughts that we think stay inside of our heads, but I believe that those thoughts are energy and that they radiate out from us. And that's how sometimes you can tell what other people are thinking. We know that emotions are also energy. And it appears that each emotion has its own specific frequency of vibration. So that if you're feeling an emotion of anger, you're feeling a different frequency, a different energy than if you were feeling an emotion of sadness. And grief is different than that, and shame is different from that. So all emotions have their own specific vibrational frequency. Let's take a look for a moment at some Kirlian photographs. Now, Kirlian photography was developed back in 1939 in the Ukraine by a man named Semyon Kirlian. If we look at this picture on the right side, we can see a Kirlian photograph of the fingertips of a living human being. Now, Kirlian photography is not done with any kind of light at all, but instead, what it seems to record is the energy field of living things. This has been studied extensively in Russia and other countries. The fingers of healers will exhibit a more powerful, more intense energy field. But my favorite Kirlian photograph of all is the one on the left, where scientists took a leaf from a tree. They cut the leaf in half, threw the top half of the leaf away, and made a Kirlian photograph of the remaining bottom half of the leaf. And yet, this Kirlian photograph shows the ghost image of the missing top half of that leaf. And if you look at this closely, it almost looks like lightning in there. You may have read stories about people who die, who leave their body, and suddenly they find themselves looking down on their body in the hospital room or at the site of their car accident. Very interesting. If you've ever been to a funeral and you look in the casket and you see the person lying there, it's obvious that something has gone out of them, something has changed. It's believed that people and animals lose a certain amount of weight at the moment of death. For human beings, they say it's 21 grams. For birds and other animals, it's lighter, much lighter, depending on the size of the animal. What's going on there? Why is that happening? Well, I believe that's because that inner essence, that intelligence that makes us who we are, leaves the body at that point, but it lives on. And it is in that energetic realm, in that energy body, where our emotional baggage actually resides. Think about this. When you're feeling an intense emotion of anger or resentment or depression or grief or sadness or shame, whatever it might be, what's happening in your body on a quantum level is that your body is feeling a certain vibration of energy. Remember, every emotion has its own specific vibrational frequency. If that emotion is powerful enough, your body may trap that emotional energy so that when the bully moves away, or the divorce is finalized, or you quit that job and move on to something else, when that emotional event is over, you may think that it's in the past, and you may move on with your life and try to get to the future, but yet you may still be holding some of that emotional baggage. The first time I saw this was a woman who came to see me who thought she was having a heart attack. And I told my staff we might need an ambulance because the left side of her face was completely numb. Her left arm was completely numb. She had crushing chest pain, difficulty breathing. Using the emotion code, I was able to determine that she had developed this trapped emotion of grief in her body 3 years before. Now, when I arrived at that, she burst into tears. And she was crying and she was saying, I can't believe that's affecting me. I thought I dealt with all that. And I said, what happened to you? And she said that 3 years before, her husband had an affair. And she found out about it and she confronted him and the whole marriage blew up. She was really in love with this guy and thought she was going to be with him forever. But all of a sudden now, she's having this tremendous feeling of grief because she's been betrayed and the marriage is falling apart. She cried buckets of tears. But eventually she dealt with it. She divorced him. She spent a year in therapy, dealing with the mental aftermath of all of that, and had even recently gotten remarried. So as far as she was concerned, that ex-husband was ancient history. But as far as her body was concerned, it was like it just happened. Now, using the emotion code, I was able to get this information from her subconscious mind. And then I was able to release that emotion in just seconds. And within about 3 seconds upon release, the feeling came back into her arm, whoosh, and into her face. And the crushing chest pain and the difficulty breathing were suddenly gone. And she left the office about 10 minutes later feeling totally fine. And I can remember thinking to myself after she left, sitting at my desk, thinking, what in the world did I just witness? What did I just see? How is it possible that emotional baggage can cause physical symptoms like that? Well, you see, when we have emotional baggage, it does affect us. It affects us in big ways. Now, to understand what emotional baggage is, it's easiest to think of a trapped emotion as being like a little ball of emotional energy from about the size of a baseball to about the size of a cantaloupe. And these can lodge anywhere in the body. So, for example, if we look at this slide, here's a woman feeling some negative emotion. Perhaps it's grief, depression, loss. And here you can see in this picture what a trapped emotion might look like. So you see, a trapped emotion is like a little invisible ball of energy. We don't actually see these, but we see their effects. So the reality of it is, you see, you may be carrying a lot of emotional baggage in your own life. In fact, everyone that you know, I think, looks a little bit like this woman, carrying all kinds of baggage. Now, the bag on top might be from childhood. The bag under her arm might be from high school, emotional baggage from that. The other bag might have emotional baggage in it from when she went through her divorce. The bottom line is, while not every intense emotional experience that we have will leave us with emotional baggage, many of them will. I like to think that the bag that she's holding there in her left hand is actually the emotional baggage that she received from her ancestors, that she is carrying through her life. You see, trapped emotions affect us in two ways, like a dual-edged sword. They affect us physically because when you have a trapped emotion, it's a ball of energy that exerts a distorting influence upon the energy field of your body. And because your body is nothing but an energy field, when you distort that energy field, you're ultimately interfering with the chemical reactions taking place within that area of the body. You're interfering with the flow of energy and the meridians through that area. You may interfere with the blood flow, with the lymph flow to some degree. And ultimately, one of the most common manifestations of a trapped emotion is physical pain because of that distorting effect. And often, when that emotional energy is removed, the physical pain will often disappear completely or change significantly. But they affect us in another way as well. You see, trapped emotions also exert an effect upon our mind, upon our emotional state and our mental state. Why? Because a trapped emotion is literally a ball of emotional frequency, a ball of emotional energy. And so the tissues that are within that sphere of energy, and these can lodge anywhere in the body, are literally feeling that emotional vibration or that emotion 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Let me share a story with you that illustrates this point. I once had a man that came in to see me when I was in practice who had severe low back pain. On a 0 to 10 scale, his pain was a 9. He was really in a lot of pain, and I tested him and found that he had a trapped emotion, And the trapped emotion was anger. And using the emotion code, I was able to determine that had occurred and become trapped in his body 20 years before when he went through something difficult. He remembered what it was. When I released that trapped emotion, which literally just took a few seconds, the pain was instantly gone. He was amazed and excited. It was almost like a miracle to him. I was grateful that it worked so well. And he left the office feeling completely fine. A couple of days later, he came back in to see me, and here's what he said. He said, Dr. Nelson, my back is fine. The pain is completely gone. It's amazing. I still can't quite believe it. But he said, when I came in here, I had another issue going on that I did not tell you about. But as long as I can remember, I have been basically a rageaholic. I'm always yelling at my wife and my kids. I've got to watch the road rage. I've been to anger management several times. It hasn't really helped me. He said, that's just who I am, or so I thought. But he said, when you release that emotion of anger from me, since then, I just don't feel angry anymore. I feel kind of relaxed and kind of peaceful. He said, how did that work? You see, what happens is when we have a ball of emotional energy in our body, it makes us feel that emotion more readily than we otherwise would. Think about this man. 20 years before, he was very angry. That emotional energy was too powerful for his body to process. That energy became stuck in his body like a little ball of energy. 20 years later, it's manifesting as severe back pain. But it's also manifesting as something else. You see, in his life, when a situation would arise where he might tend to feel angry, he would feel angry. He would slide right into that feeling, right into that vibration, much more easily, much more readily than he otherwise would have. Why? Because literally part of his body was feeling that emotion 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So think about your own life. Have there been times in your life when you've cried yourself to sleep at night? Have you felt like your heart was going to break at some point? Have you been through emotionally difficult things? Most of us have. We all have emotional baggage. Trapped emotions can cause you to make the wrong assumptions. They can cause you to short-circuit what might otherwise be perfectly good relationships. And they can cause you to self-sabotage your own life. Now, trapped emotions can also be inherited. Some of the time we inherit emotional energies from mom or dad that they might have inherited from their mom or dad, and these may go back tens of generations at times. So it truly means that you are the product not only of your own life, but also of the lives of your ancestors. They've done studies where they found that if you put a rat into a maze, and at a certain point in that maze, that rat is shocked or has some kind of a fright that happens to it, if you take that rat out of the maze and it never sees that maze again, and it has children, and those children have children, you can take a grandchild of that rat and put it into that same maze, and as it's wandering through the maze, when it gets to the point where grandfather was shocked, it will freeze because it knows somehow the memory, that energy of what happened to grandpa was passed down. And you see, this is how it works for us too. The emotional energies that our ancestors experienced that were deemed important were passed down. And now those are affecting you and they are diminishing your life. So how do we find these trapped emotions? Well, it's actually fairly simple. We use a chart that looks like this. There are 60 emotions on this chart. 2 columns and 6 rows are how this chart is divided. The subconscious mind of every individual on the planet knows what is on this chart already because the subconscious mind is connected with everything in the world. If you've ever had a polygraph test or a lie detector test, you'll know that the body can't lie. Your body is essentially a computer. And to release trapped emotions, we use the governing meridian, which is a little river of energy that starts at the tailbone and flows up the back and over the top of the head to the upper lip. I'll show you how this is done in just a moment. Here's the conscious mind, like the tip of the iceberg. the subconscious mind is like the part of the iceberg that is below the waterline. That's by far the vast bulk of your intelligence. The conscious mind is not that smart. You probably don't remember what you had for breakfast 3 or 4 days ago. We forget things all the time. The subconscious mind is, on the other hand, massive and powerful. We haven't really begun to understand it yet. It's so powerful that you can eat a sandwich and your subconscious mind can turn that into new cardiac muscle tissue or new nerve cells. It's an order of complexity beyond our ability to really understand. But what we can do is we can tap into this subconscious mind and we can ask questions. So now I've asked Vivian to come in and give us a hand so we can show you how the emotion code is actually done. Hi, Vivian.
Hi.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to ask some questions of Vivian's subconscious mind. The subconscious mind can't lie. So hold your arm like so and just resist me for a moment. Say, my name is Vivian.
My name is Vivian.
She says her name is Vivian, and I'm going to press down on her arm and you resist me. And her arm is nice and strong because that's a true, congruent statement. Now let's have her tell a lie. Say, my name is Fritz.
My name is Fritz.
She says her name is Fritz, and we press down, and she cannot hold her arm up because that is the subconscious mind saying that, no, that's not true. My name is not Fritz. Now, you can try this at home, and you'll see that this actually works. It's an amazing thing, and it's very simple, but what it does is it opens a window for us, you see, to tap into the subconscious mind and actually get answers. So, we can ask her subconscious mind if she has a trapped emotion that needs to be released right now. Let's ask. Do you have a trapped emotion that we can release right now? And the answer coming from her subconscious mind is yes, she's very strong. So now we look at our chart and we ask where this emotion is. Is it in column A in the chart? The answer coming from her subconscious mind is no. So that means it's in column B. Is it in one of the odd rows in column B? And the answer coming back from her subconscious mind is yes. You see, her subconscious mind knows all about the emotional baggage that she has. Every trapped emotion in her body, when they occurred, who was involved, everything about them. And so this is a way for us to access and utilize the incredible power of the subconscious mind to get this very important information that there would be no other way to obtain. So, we know this emotion is in column B in one of the odd rows. We've narrowed it down already to 15 emotions out of 60. So is this emotion in column B, row 1? Is that where it is? That answer is no. Is it in column B, row 3? And that's weak. So the only one left is column B, row 5. Is that where the emotion is? And that's strong. So I have a chart here in English that will help me to identify these emotions. We know it's in column B, row 5. So let's ask, is this emotion conflict? And her arm is weak. Is the emotion creative insecurity? And that's weak. Is the emotion terror? And that's weak, so it's not that one. Is the emotion unsupported? And that emotion is strong. So that is the emotion that her subconscious mind has identified that is in her body that we need to release. So let's ask one more question. Do we need to know more about this emotion? And her subconscious mind says no. You see, in order for the person to release the emotional baggage, sometimes you need to dig just a little deeper and decide or determine when this might have occurred, who might have been involved, and so on. In this case, her subconscious mind says, no, it's okay, we can just release this. So you can release a trapped emotion by using your fingertips or a magnet, face that way. And what we do is we simply go down the center of the back just 3 times to release that emotional baggage. Face this way. Now we ask this question. Did we release that trapped emotion of unsupported? And her body says, yes, we did. So that's the process of releasing a trapped emotion. It's actually very fast, very, very simple. You'll learn more about this in the online seminar if you choose to follow that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll have you come back later.
Thank you.
Now let's talk about the heart. The human heart anciently was believed to be the seat of love, the source of creativity, the seat of romance, and the core of our being. In the West, we've not really paid much attention to those old beliefs about the heart. We've believed that the heart was just a pump. That's all it is. It just pumps blood, nothing else. But new instrumentation is starting to show that there's much more going on with the heart than we ever thought possible. In fact, studies have shown that if one person is feeling love or affection for another person, their heartbeat will somehow become measurable in the brain waves of that other person, and their heartbeats will actually synchronize. Using the magnetocardiogram, scientists have found that the heart puts out a magnetic field that extends out around the body 12 feet in diameter, making the heart by far the most powerful organ in the body. Now, back in the 1960s, when doctors started doing heart transplants, they found that many people would come back to them and report strange things, such as their taste in food or music or sports had completely changed. Sometimes people had memories of being in places where they never in their lives had actually traveled to. Sometimes people's handwriting would completely change. And in every case, when they were connected with the family of the heart donor, they found, oh yes, that's my son's handwriting that you have now. Or, yes, our daughter had been to those places that you have memories of. Or, yes, our son loved baseball and now you love it too. Amazing things. There are whole books written about this, you see. In fact, I believe that your heart is literally a second brain. And it contains the affinities and the memories and the loves of your life. Scientists recently did a study. They were looking at the nerves that connect the brain to the heart. They were expecting to see most of the traffic traveling from the brain to the heart. Instead, what they found shocked them. What they found was that the vast majority of the traffic between the heart and the brain is actually traveling from the heart to the brain and not the opposite, indicating that the brain in your head is actually obeying the messages sent by the brain that is in your heart. What I've discovered is something that we call the heart wall. If you think about your own life, can you think back to a time in your life where you felt like your heart was going to break? We know now that people actually die from a broken heart. It's called Takotsubo syndrome or broken heart syndrome. When you feel like your heart is going to break, your subconscious mind will often put up a wall around that heart made from the energy of your emotional baggage. I discovered this on my wife, who had a difficult time in her life with depression and anxiety and feeling isolated. And when that wall was removed, as we took down those layers of emotional baggage from her, that suddenly opened up and she was able to feel connected again. And the depression and the anxiety started to disappear for her. It's not unusual for people to fall in love when this wall is taken down, often for the first time in their lives and often at advanced ages. People feel their creativity start to flow and creative ideas starting to flow for them like they never could before. Because you see, I believe that there's a 3D blueprint in your heart of your best life that you can create. But when you have a wall around that heart, it makes it much more difficult for you to manifest that perfect creation that's in your heart into this world. The heart wall is an extremely important thing. I believe it's the most important thing that you can do for your own health and for your own ability to create love and happiness and live a life full of joy. Let me show you how we can find a heart wall and how this is actually done. So to show you how we can find out if a person actually has a heart wall, I've asked Pablo to come in and we'll test him. So come on over, Pablo. All right. So first of all, let's take a look, and we'll just ask a yes and no sort of question first. Say, my name is Pablo.
My name is Pablo.
He says his name is Pablo. That's a true, congruent statement. His subconscious mind agrees with that, and he's strong. Say, my name is Hans.
My name is Hans.
His subconscious mind disagrees with that. That's an incongruent or untrue statement. Now let's ask, do you have a heart wall? And his subconscious mind says, yes, he actually does. So to show you how this is done, we can ask if we can remove an emotion. Can we remove an emotion from your heart wall right now? And his subconscious mind says, yes. So we can remove a layer from his heart wall. So let's find out what the emotion is. At this moment, his subconscious mind knows what the emotion is. All we have to do is figure out what his subconscious mind already knows. So let's ask, is this emotion in column A in our chart? Just resist, hold it. Yes. Is it in one of the odd rows? So you see there, we just eliminated 30 emotions. We have 30 left. Is it in one of the odd rows in column A? And that's a yes answer too. So we now have 15 emotions out of 60. Is it in column A, row 1? Is that where it is? No. Is the emotion in column A, row 3? Is that where it is? Yes, column A, row 3. So is the emotion crying? No. Is it discouragement? No. Is it rejection? Yes, the emotion is rejection. So at this point we would ask, do we need to know more about this emotion? His body says no, so we can go ahead and release the emotion, face that way. And again, to release a trapped emotion, even if it's part of the heart wall, we just slide down the back a few times, 3 times, to release that emotional energy. Kind of like taking a credit card out of your wallet and just rubbing a magnet on that magnetic strip, it would erase that data. Same thing. Hold your arm straight out, resist, hold it. All right. He's strong, so now let's ask, did we release that trapped emotion? We did. Do you still have a heart wall? He does. So he's got a little more work to do, but this shows you how this is actually done. In the online seminar, we teach more about the muscle testing, how to do it right, and so on, and go into more detail about how this is all done and how it all works. Thank you, Pablo.
Thank you.
All right. Now, if you have a heart wall, it will be much more difficult for you to create success and abundance in your life. Because you see, your best creative ideas lie in this brain, not in this one. And many people have found success after having that heart wall removed. So you see, the emotion code is changing the world one person at a time. It is the simplest, fastest, most efficient, and easiest way to release emotional baggage that has ever been devised, and even children can do it. So we do have certification that is available if you're interested in that. We certify people all over the world. And you can go to our website at healerslibrary.com for more information about that. Our certified practitioners are finding that they can actually work with their clientele at a distance anywhere in the world and travel if they want to, make a good living or a great living, and all they need is a laptop and a Wi-Fi connection. So for more information and support, you can visit us at healerslibrary.com or drbradleynelson.com, and we're also online on Facebook at facebook.com/Dr. Bradley Nelson and facebook.com/healerslibrary. For more information in German, you can visit emotionscode.de. Now, I would like to teach you more about this amazing method. I'd like to invite you to our online Emotion Code seminar, where I will teach you in detail how this works with animals, how this is done at a distance, how you can work on yourself and how you can work on other people and change your life and their lives as well. So I'd like to invite you to attend that online seminar. I want to thank you for listening to this masterclass. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic day and a fantastic